I stood outside my own house, holding a suitcase that wouldn't even close properly, one of my old shirts still hanging out, like even it refused to leave. Behind me, silence. In front of me, a locked door. And on the other side, my son. "Dad, it's time." That's all he said. No anger, no hesitation, just done. And as the lock clicked, he thought it was over. But he had no idea I had already made my move. My name is Robert Hale. I'm 69 years old. And the man who just locked me out is my son, my only son. For most of my life, I believed in simple things. Work hard, provide, sacrifice. And one day, your family will stand by you. I spent 35 years building that house, not just with money, but with every piece of my life. My wife used to say, "Robert, this house isn't bricks, it's us." And she meant it. I still remember the day we moved in. The walls smelled like fresh paint, and she walked barefoot across the floor, smiling, like we had just built a kingdom. Daniel was just a kid back then, running through empty rooms, laughing like nothing in the world could ever hurt him. And I promised myself, nothing ever would. I worked jobs people don't even talk about. Night shifts, double shifts, sometimes 3 days straight without proper sleep. There were nights I ate nothing, just so he could have more. There was a winter, I still remember it. He had a fever, 104, burning up, and I carried him in my arms, running to the hospital in the freezing cold, barefoot. Because when you're a father, you don't think, you just move. When his mother passed away, everything changed. That house was no longer just walls. It became memories, echoes. Her voice in the kitchen, her laughter in the hallway. Sometimes, late at night, I could almost hear her call my name. And Daniel, he became my reason to keep going. For years, it was just me and him. No help, no support, just survival. And we made it. He grew up kind, respectful, grateful, or at least I thought he did. Then he got married, and slowly things started to change. Not in a loud way, not in a way you can point at, but in a quiet, creeping way. At first, it was small. "Dad, you should organize your stuff better. Dad, maybe don't leave things around." I didn't mind. I thought, it's her house now too. But then, it changed. "Maybe you should stay in your room more. We just need some privacy." Privacy in the house I built. One night I walked past their room and I heard her voice, low, sharp. "You can't build a future while living in his past." And then silence. Daniel didn't argue, didn't defend me. He just listened. That was the moment something inside me shifted. Not broke, not yet, but cracked. Days turned cold. Dinner tables became quiet. We used to talk for hours. Now we barely exchange words. Sometimes I'd say something, and they'd just nod without even looking at me, like I was already gone. One evening, I made his favorite meal, something his mother used to cook. I thought, maybe it would remind him, bring him back. He took one bite, looked at his phone, and said, "Dad, you ever thought about moving out?" I froze. "Moving out?" He shrugged. "Yeah, you'd be more comfortable." "Comfortable? In my own house?" That's when he finally looked at me, and I didn't recognize his eyes anymore. Cold, distant, certain. "This isn't really your house anymore." That line didn't just hurt. It ended something inside me. Next morning, my suitcase was outside the door, half closed, broken zipper. The same suitcase I bought years ago, when he was just a child. He stood there, arms crossed. "Don't make this harder than it has to be." Harder? I looked past him, into the house, at every corner filled with memories. The hallway where my wife used to stand, smiling, waiting for me. The kitchen where she used to hum softly, like life was simple. For a moment, I almost spoke, almost begged. almost reminded him who I was. But I didn't. Because some pain doesn't need words, I picked up my suitcase and walked out. Not because I had nowhere to go, but because I already knew something they didn't. Years ago, when I bought that house, I never transferred ownership. Not to my wife, not to my son, to no one. It stayed in my name, always. Because life taught me one thing. People change, even family. 3 days later, a legal notice arrived at the house. At first, he thought it was a mistake. Then confusion turned into panic. He called a lawyer, then another, and slowly, truth became unavoidable. 30 days to vacate. The house he thought he owned was never his, not even for a second. That night, my phone rang. Again and again and again. I didn't answer. Not the first time. Not the second. Not the 10th. When I finally did, his voice was different. Broken. Shaking. Dad, please, I didn't mean it. I stayed silent. Let him feel it. Let him sit in that space I once stood in. Then I said calmly, I gave you everything. A pause. And you gave me a door. Silence. Now you know how it feels to stand outside. He started crying, saying things he should have said earlier, begging for another chance. But some things don't come back. I didn't destroy him. I didn't fight. I didn't scream. I just stepped back and let reality speak. A week later, I drove past the house, and for the first time, I saw him standing outside, suitcase in his hand, same door, same silence. And in that moment, he finally understood. Because blood makes you family, but actions decide if you get to stay one. And some doors, once they close, never open again.